Welcome back to Mirror Signal Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Holleran, and today we are joined by Graham Hooper. In today's episode, Graham talks about his qualifying as a driving instructor and his past experience and the coaching that he learnt with that and how that's helped him as a driving instructor. We talk about business management and how you can manage to fit in CPD and the importance of CPD, figuring it out what it is you want to achieve, and then how you can then go and do it. Plus, lots more topics. If you're currently watching this on YouTube, you can also listen to the full episode on YouTube Music. If you're enjoying the episode, please make sure that you give it a like. You can also leave any thoughts that you've got in the comments and make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you don't miss any episodes as they go live. There will be a new episode every Sunday, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. If you've got any questions or you'd like any more info, you can also head to the Facebook page or the Facebook group, and they're both available at Mirrors Signal Podcast. For now, we'll get on with the episode. I hope you all enjoy. So we are joined by Graham Hooper today. Graham, first up, thank you for joining me. How are you
No
doing?
problem. Oh yeah, I'm good. Yeah, good. It's a good day. Yeah, it's a bit wet and rainy, but I'm just looking out my window. But it's a good day. Yeah.
A nice day to be sat in the office rather than out in the wet
Yep.
and the cold.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's great to have you. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I reached out having seen some of your posts that you put on social media. I find them interesting. They always cause a good debate. But what I'd like to know first is how you've got to this stage. You're doing a lot, you've got a lot of courses. What's your story with the industry?
Wow. How long have you got? I mean, I think I'm approaching nearly 30 years in the industry, but I think my story really comes from I was a district manager with William Hill, the bookmakers. I was running betting shops in North London, Tottenham, Edmonton, Hackney, Finsbury Park, etc. But I was the youngest betting shop in the manager. Youngest betting shop manager in the country at 18.
Wow, 18.
18. They shortly after I became the youngest betting shopping manager in the country, they moved it to 21, but I was 18, and I started in the backwaters of Tottenham in a shop called St. Loy's in St. Loy's Road, close to the Broadwater Farm Estate. And that was my first shop. But I quickly recognised at 18, I was the manager. Everybody I was managing was older than me. So I quickly worked out that telling older people what to do doesn't work. So back at 18, I developed, I suppose, a coaching way. And
Interesting.
I read a book called The Reflective Practitioner.
Okay.
It was boring, but the principle was very, very good. And I did read it, and I did start to put in the principle. I also read several books. I think it was The 1 Minute Manager.
Okay.
Yeah. And I started to apply those principles in what I did at work. I don't know whether those principles were right or wrong in some respects at the time, but what you do is when you put something into action, you start to learn from what happens. You know, it's Kolb's experiential learning cycle. So what happened was at 18, I was the youngest, but by the time I think I was 21, I was managing the busiest shop in North London.
So you done
And
well from an early age.
yeah, and the shop was called The Royal. It was sandwiched between, there was Tottenham Nick as I come out the door on my left, and there was a Beehive pub just down the road on the right. So they were both good punters. The police and the people drunk in the pub, they were good punters. If you walked into my shop, you had carpet on the floor, which was in dark green and light green stripes. So, and there was a grandstand on the left. Yeah. Murals all around the wall. And there was a tree in the middle of my shop, a real live tree, which was about 50 foot tall and went up to the skylight in the room. And the shop was like an old Comet warehouse. It was really quite big. And then from there, I moved on to what, base office manager, district manager, seconded to area manager, and then so progressed through there. And what happened was evening racing came in, and then Sunday racing come in, and I didn't want to work evenings and Sundays. My final straw was going to another armed robbery in Upper Clapton, and not getting home until 4 o'clock in the morning, because I had to take all the staff home, wait for the SOCO turn up, seen a crime officer. And I thought, this is not a job I want to be doing. Sitting in the middle of Upper Clapton, at 3 o'clock in the morning, waiting for the senior crimes officer to turn up. Who's going to come in and dust for prints? Well, how many prints do you think there are in a blooming betting shop? What a complete and utter waste of time. But, they've done, it was an armed robbery. It's serious. And I thought, I don't want to do this anymore. And I remember my dad going, I said, look, he said, oh, become a driving instructor, was in the local paper with BSM, earn £900 a week. That was 30 years ago, earn £900 a week. And I thought, okay, I'll have a go at that, because I was married, and, my first, my wife had just become pregnant, and I wanted, to change what I was doing. So I became a PDI 1 month before my daughter was born. I've got 2 children, a boy and a girl, but 1 month before my daughter's the oldest was born. And I gave up my well-paid job in William Hill, in, pretty senior middle management, to become a PDI. What a dickhead. Yeah. I would, if anyone said to me, give up your job, no, but I was lucky, or hardworking, whichever way you want it. And I passed all my exams first time, part 1, part 2, part 3. I became a PDI in June, and I was qualified in November. Then from there, I went on, and then you had what was called an educational, which was like a standards check, but it was a check test, but it was an educational, because that's what you should have still as PDI should have a standards check within the first 6 months. Back then we had educational. So I had an educational, and educational wasn't necessarily graded. You could be offered a grade. And at the end of that, the examiner offered me a 4.4. If you got anything less than a 3, you failed. So anything with, he said, you can have a 4.4. And he gave me the feedback, and I went, I normally do that. I normally do that. I normally do that. And at that point, I suppose the penny really dropped for me, that my training to become a driving instructor, I went with BSM East London, was absolutely complete tosh. Yeah, because what I did is I didn't do what I normally did. I repeated the training I was given.
Yep.
And I scraped through with a 4.4, because, it was, but I thought this, and I thought, right, what I'm going to do is the next time I get a check test, I'm doing it my way. And if they don't like it, I'll find something else to do. So I got another check test. I think it wasn't much long after, probably 5-6 months after that one. And this was my real check test now, not an educational. And I walked away with a 6.6. So within a year, I became one of the highest graded driving instructors in the country, in the UK. And there was only back then 5% of ADIs achieved a grade 6. And I'd only been doing it a year. And it wasn't because I was special. It's because I'd brought the coaching approach I'd been using for the previous 18 years with my learners. And then I thought, hang on, something's wrong here. If I'm getting a 6.6 after a year, and ADIs can't get a 6, 95%, something's wrong. And at that point was what set me on the point to, right, I'm going to start to train people to become driving instructors. But what I did is I wrote a business plan, because PDIs don't write business plans. Yeah. But I wrote a business plan and I wrote a 10-year business plan. And the first 2 years was really about learning to be a driving instructor. That was in my business plan. I would do a little bit of CPD, but it wasn't what I wanted to do was to learn to be a driving instructor. So I had some experience. So, and, I was a driving instructor in North London and, doing my PDI, I was a PDI in Tottenham. You learn very, very quickly. You know, you either that or crash and die. There's no, Wood Green Driving Test Centre, the roundabout between the A10 and the A406 was the #1 crash spot in North London. More crashes at this roundabout. And you went round it twice on your driving test, quite often. You turned right at it on approach, 3-lane dual carriageway with a bus lane on in lane 1, which ended about 50 yards before. You turned right, you went back around the back streets of Edmonton, and you come back and you turned right down the North Circular Road. And then the North Circular Road, which I think was about 50 miles an hour, halfway down, you turned left off the North Circular Road with traffic coming up behind you at 50 miles an hour. Like, I mean, when I say traffic, and they're not doing 50. But the pass rate at Wood Green was 25%. That was the pass rate at Wood Green. My pass rate was 50%. And what I noticed is, generally speaking, my pass rate, because back then I kept stats on everything I did, and the DVSA, you could apply for stats like you do now. And I started to look at the patterns and I'm getting a lot of minor faults on mirrors. Maybe I've got to step up my game on mirrors. Yeah. So I started to analyse what I do. And what I recognised is that every test centre, I'd virtually double the pass rate. So I think Winchmore Hill pass rate was around 33. I was getting like over 60%. Chingford was like 35. I was getting over 70%. Barnet was similar. And I thought, why is my pass rate double the average? So I started to think about, what do I do differently to what I was trained? I was trained to tell people what to do. Telling doesn't seem to work. In fact, telling doesn't work. And if you think about this, why doesn't telling work? Because when someone's passed their test, there's no one there to tell them what to do. So if you don't develop responsibility from day one, then they're going to struggle when they get to that test because they haven't developed that responsibility. And I know there will be ADI saying, well, you've got to tell them what to do on the first lesson. Well, it depends. Maybe not, but I'm not going to go down in that road to depth. My whole training, Josh, then as a ADI revolved around, and it's still exactly, I'm not still sending the same message, post-test training. Everything I did revolved around what the learner was going to do when they passed their test. And in fact, I didn't call them learners, I called them drivers. Don't drive like a bloody learner. Drive like a driver. I don't want you driving like a learner driver or driving Miss Daisy. Yeah. Drive like a driver. So with legality and responsibility. So I then wrote my CPD plan. And my first thing I did with my CPD plan really was to go back and revisit my own driving. So I did the IAM, I did ROSPA, I got a gold in ROSPA, passed. And I remember the Sergeant Douglas Bates, Sergeant Douglas Bates of Waltham Abbey, he said, great demonstration of system and car control. And I went, I don't know what the system of car control is. He went, laid out in a book called Roadcraft. I went, never read it. He said, what'd you do then? I said, well, I drove it like I stole it and I kept it legal. He went, yeah, that'll do it. Yeah. And so and then I went and did, and anyone who aspires to become a driving instructor trainer should go and do the Cardington special test for driving instructors. Reason is that's the standard. If you pass the Cardington special test for driving instructors, yeah, you know exactly what your client needs to do to pass part two. Replicate what you do in some respects. And I was lucky enough to pass that test with 0 faults. And just to throw the cat amongst the pigeons, I never did a 6-point check pulling away from the side of the road. And I got 0 faults on the DVSA special test for driving instructors. So just, want to kiss the parrot both sides, then up to you. But I never did a left blind spot check pulling away from the side of the road. The whole test. Yes, I did do all-round effective observation when necessary. And I did sometimes open the windows when necessary. But I never did the 6-point check or whatever it is, the nodding dog. What are that? Who invents this garbage? Yeah. And what this stems from, Josh, is a behavioural approach, because that's what we're telling someone to do. Do it like this, you won't fail. Yeah, that's what we're saying. Well, you won't fail, but you can't bloody drive either. You're supposed to look down the road, look in your mirrors as you're about to leave, check your blind spot, and piss off. Yeah, go. That's what you're supposed to do, not sit around like a not. Are we going? So, yeah, I became probably quite controversial quite quickly. Yeah, because people had been told by their trainers that this is the way it's done. And I called it white coat syndrome. If I put on a white coat, get myself a clipboard, yeah, I can take your kidneys out, can't I? Yeah, because I look important. And so that's what sort of happened. And then I embarked on a CPD. I went and did the DIA classroom course. I then and on that course, this is the point about doing great CPD, is I met someone and he told me about the NDOS course. He was from Liverpool, the National Driver Offenders Rehabilitation Schemes. They were called NDES back then, the National Driver Improvement Schemes. I thought, oh, I want to do that. And I started phoning around the county councils, and Essex didn't do them, London didn't do them back at that time. And then I found they did them at Hertfordshire. And the Hertfordshire said to me, yeah, but you haven't got enough experience, whatever. I said, well, really want to do this. What do I need to do it? So they said, you need to do these. So I went off and did them. I said, right, now you're going to give me an interview. Yeah, because I've done what you've asked me. So I went and did an interview. 3 hours this interview. And I had to do a drive, and they said, yeah, you can have a go. We'll do you on a trial period as a trainer. Yeah. And it was good money. I think it was about, I think back then it was around 250 pound a day. So better money than probably what some of them are getting now. And then I said, well, what do I need to do? I want to be senior trainer. I don't want to be the trainer. What do I need to do to be trainer? He said, go and do your ROSPA diploma. So off I went and did the ROSPA diploma in Birmingham. Come back and said, right, I've got my ROSPA diploma. There you go. So he said, well, you've got to wait for so-and-so to leave. I said, oh, what? So I got to push him down the stairs and, help him break his leg or something. So he said, but when a gap comes up, we will consider you. So a gap comes up and I was made senior. I remember my first one. I mean, back then we were using transparencies, putting them on an overhead projector. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you didn't do it 2 to 1. You were one trainer to 25 clients or 24 clients. Now it's 2. One train. And I remember my first time as senior trainer in a classroom. And they all lined up and I was trying my best. And I went to speak and my words wouldn't come out. I was so nervous. But I forced it, pushed myself through. And then I started to learn and reflect and got quite good at it and became senior trainer at Essex, Hertfordshire and London. And then I was still doing learners on the side. And so that was developing. And I did that for, I don't know, around 10 years. And I was still doing CPD, Josh, in other things, and I won't go through everything that I did because it will be all day. And then I moved to Kent, and I live now in Ashford in Kent, and that's where I've been for about the last 20 years. And the probably a little bit longer than that. But I remember Ashford Driving Test Centre pass rate was around 46%, and my pass rate was over 95%. And I thought, hang on a minute, what's so again, we got the same thing. So what was I doing? And then I thought, right, this is the time I'm going to get into driving instructor training. So it was probably about 25 years ago, actually. And someone phoned me up and said, will you teach me to become a driving instructor? And I said, yes. And I committed the crime of repeating the same shit training I got on the first time they turned up. And they didn't know, they thought it was okay. I knew, and I went back indoors and I thought, I can't do that. I can't repeat. I complained about the training I've got, and now I don't know what I'm doing. I've just delivered the same rubbish. So I enrolled at Canterbury University to apply for Advanced Certificate of Adult Education Stage 1, 2 and 3. And I went to I went to the local college, which was affiliated to the Canterbury night classes for the next 2 years, and became a qualified teacher for adults aged 14 and above in my vocational subject. I did other things, developed a fleet driver training company, did SAFED for vans, that's safe and fuel efficient driving for vans, became the trainer of trainers for SAFED vans. My instructor training grew. Back then, there was a company called the Instructor College. They had PDIs falling out, and I was basically rescuing them. And I was doing, back then, 2 PDIs a day. Well, no, I was doing 4 PDIs a day, 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, 2 to 1 training, and they were paying £100 each. It was, it was very good. And I learned so much through that period of actively training. Yeah. Just huge. And then during that time, I'd wrote my own instructor training manual. And then I was very, very interested in coaching, and the Hermes project had come out. So I'd already looked at Gadget, which was the first one, ended in the late 90s, that come out. And then there was Merit, which was I can't remember what it's called, but it was about European requirements for instructor training. Very good read, yeah, because they wrote that one in what I call plain English. Very useful. And then Hermes come out, and I thought, wow, yeah, good. This is what we need. And so I then went to the University of East London, did coaching for driver development, because there was a course there that was, I suppose, started in some respects by Dr. Jonathan Passmore led it, but Sir John Whitmore drove it. And Sir John Whitmore wrote Coaching for Performance, and he's best known for the GROW model. I then worked with my other tutor was Dr. Christian van Nieuwenburg, who's a significant coach if you look him up. So I did 2 years there. I did coaching for driver development and evidence-based coaching, and they were kind enough to let me on the course because it was a master's course and I didn't have a degree in anything. I might have a degree in washing up or something, but I didn't. And then I got really into coaching, brought coaching in some respects to the industry, and got loads of stick on social media for doing so, and still doing today. So done other, I'm now work alongside driver metrics. I'm lucky enough to work with Dr. Lisa Dawn from occasions. I attend her courses because where do I go for CPD? Yeah. So she's the top behavioural, I suppose, trainer for driver, for I suppose amongst fleet driver training in the UK. Yeah, she also writes the books for the DVSA as well about learner driving, and I also do consultancy work for alongside Dr. Sandra McDonald Ames as well. So I'm lucky. How did I get where I was? I'll tell you how I got where I was, Josh. Yeah, hard work and CPD. I think, and some people go, well, what gives you the right? Well, hard work and CPD gives me the right. Yeah. And as you've probably just gathered, I can talk the talk, but I can also walk the walk. And I'm quite happy to demonstrate that to anyone who would like to challenge me, because there is those who'd like to challenge me.
There seems to be a lot when I see you posting. I find that fascinating, and there seems to be a theme that I'm seeing with a lot of people that come on that are doing good things within the industry. It's that CPD, and it didn't seem, from what you were saying, it was about you being the best that you can be. It's not, I want to do this, I want to do that because of it's you're either seeing holes in yourself or you've got another target, another step, and it's like, right, what's the path to achieve this? So it's
If
been
you
about what you want.
Absolutely, and I wanted to deliver instructor training. That was the goal. I'm 30 years on, but that was the goal within the first 2 years. Well, it didn't happen in the first 2 years. People come along now and haven't been doing it 5 minutes. And it's no disrespect because anyone can go and learn, yeah, and develop. But but what and the world is full of egos. But I think, okay, so if you've only been training people since 2019 to be driving, how many have you trained? Can't be that many. How much more have you got to learn? Yes, it's brilliant, but professing that you're the best, none of us are the best. I'm not the best. It can't be. I've got loads to learn. And the more and more I develop, the bigger that hole is about learning. It's frightening. Yeah. That's the only thing about CPD. You discover what you don't know. Yeah. And you don't know what you don't know. And as you develop, you think, here we go again. And it's just never ending. It's a never ending because if you stop, you stand still and you stop growing. So, and I think I've just got an interest in developing people, being a trainer. I enjoy what I do. My clients give me great feedback, but people might give you great feedback because you're a nice guy. Well, then some people will laugh. Well, he clearly ain't a nice guy sometimes. But my clients are really, really important to me. Really, really important. I'm really invested in them being successful. Really invested because they pay me. And I suppose if you look at it, it's a business, isn't it? I've invested in myself to create the opportunity to earn a living. I mean, I get lots and lots of inquiries, regular inquiries from PDIs. And the first question they ask me,
How much is it?
what a waste of time. Yeah. So I tell them because I'm not interested. Because if they're asking me how much it is, then I'm not the right person because they won't like what I'm going to charge them. But I tell them anyway. I think actually, £75 for a 90-minute session on Zoom is cheap, cheap as chips. That's what I think. Now people will disagree, but I think that's cheap. Yeah. Um, and I think it just becomes a race to the bottom.
I've found since starting this, I'm quite early in my career, but CPD now, I've not got a 10-year plan. In all honesty, I've not got a 2-year plan. I need to pull my finger out and find some direction. But understanding the benefits of CPD allow me now to account for it in my pricing of lessons
Yeah.
because it's a business cost. We account for insurance, car, fuel, and CPD. I think is probably going to be one of the better returns on investment over the long term because everything else is going to depreciate or we can't change. But I think CPD, and that's something that I found has helped me. It's one, justifying my price increases to myself morally, and it's allowing me now to build a pot that I can approach different people depending on where I find my need at that moment in time to go and develop that area. But would you give, so people either in my position or just coming into the industry, would you have any advice so that they can position and get on that path to CPD? What would be your advice?
Start with the end in mind.
Start with the end in mind, was that?
Yeah. Start with the end in mind. Yeah. And you might need, I would suggest, maybe writing a mind map, start with the end in mind, because sometimes people go, well, I don't know what the end in mind is. Yeah. And I go, well, what do you want? And you might say, well, I need to be the best that I can be. Well, what does that look like, sound like, feel like, smell like, taste like, yeah, to you? Write it down. And then you have your vision, work backwards. Or what steps of the ladder do I need to climb to create the best person I can be? That would be my advice.
It's a challenge, isn't it? We see where you're at now and what you're doing and the courses and connections and everything else. And when you're early on, it's very difficult. And it's the time I've noticed looking at a bigger time scale. It's
Mm.
not 6 months, a
We,
year,
we,
a
we
lot longer than that.
become, yeah, just we become a society that wants it now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you have to go and earn it. There's an old adage, isn't it? How do you eat an elephant? Yeah. Do you know?
One bite at a time, I guess.
Correct answer. So if you look at, where do you want to get to, and it's like huge, yeah, it's an elephant. How do I get there? One step at a time. You can't do. And what happens is we tend to want to throw the kitchen sink at it instead of going, well, if I do this, I do this, and I do this, then everything collectively adds up. It's a bit like gestaltism, it's this gestalt way of learning in some respects. Then you get the whole.
A little bit like what we do with our learners.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, we, we don't have to know we don't have to know that unless you want to be a trainer, you don't need to know the theory. You just need to know where to find it. Yeah. If you know where to find it, you can look it up and then you'll gradually learn it. But I find my role is to take some, I don't know, psychology psychobabble and put it into English. Make it simple. But to be able to do that, you've got to understand what they were talking about.
Yep.
And I sometimes think maybe I don't always succeed, and I've pitched what I'm doing at too high a level. I need to then take it down, and then I can build it up for whoever wants, because then people, if I get it low enough, people will ask questions, and then you can build it up from there. But to be able to do that, you've got to spend a lot of time investing in yourself. So, yeah, I think going back to your question, do a time management plan. But you see, there's all these things, isn't it? Do a time management plan, do a business plan, do a SWOT analysis, do a pest analysis. Yeah, but you're all lazy bastards, so won't do any of it. Well, then why? What? When you look back in 10 years and go, well, I didn't really succeed, you can just go, actually, why didn't I succeed? Oh, look, see, I'm just thinking, 12-week year. There's a great book if you want to start looking at get more done in 12 weeks than others do in 12 months. I just picked that up on the side. I read that many, many years ago. But it's very, very useful if you're business planning.
There's another book that's going to end up on my
They
list.
do. They don't start. I've got about. I mean, I told you, I've got a bookcase downstairs. There's hundreds of books, but there's just this was a great book for me. let's move my finger.
Teaching, training, and learning.
I don't even know if they do, if that's about now. That was the fifth edition. I don't know what year that was. Fifth edition, 2003. Yeah, so that's
Couple of years ago.
20 years ago. But that's still sitting, in arm's reach because you can't hold all the information in your head.
No.
So you have resources and you go to those resources and you go, okay, thinking about, I quite often will say coach the person, not the problem. And I think, who wrote that? I've got a book somewhere about that. And then I can go, oh, yeah, no, I know where it is. It's downstairs. Or I go, oh, yes, I've got it here. Let's have a look. And I can't remember the lady's name who stated that. I've got it somewhere. It's a blue book. I know it's a blue book. I can see it in my head. But if you don't invest, if you don't read, put things into practice, putting things into practice, Josh, is the key. What
Yeah, it's
works for
one
you?
thing having it all, it's another thing using it and finding how it works for you as well.
Yeah. And then not only how it works for you, how it works for you as well. So yeah, so people go, oh, he only sells, he sells CPD to make money. I just say that PDIADI.com, which has been going 6 months, has not made me a penny, and it probably won't make me a penny for, I don't know, another year. Yeah, long term view. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to try to bring all, and it's not, I mean, I would like to bring every single trainer into pdiadi.com, and there'd be one place for everyone to go. That won't happen because other trainers have their own paths to walk. But I wanted to build a platform where someone like you could go and go, oh look, I've got to pick a mix. And then, oh, those trainers, they don't just do one course, they've got 4 or 5 courses, and there's an array of stuff. That's what I wanted to do so that PDIs and ADIs know where to look to find something of value. I've got I can't remember the name of the blooming Facebook group. You probably know it better than me. Let me find one of them. The group I want to talk about is Drive Instructor Events, CPD, Products and Services. That group is open to every single trainer in the country, whether they're affiliated to me or not, to advertise. Anyone can advertise on there. Not everyone does, but there is a great array of different people because my frustration with the industry is that, say, for argument's sake, people only sell their own courses. So if you went to the ADI and JC, they will only sell ADI and JC courses. If you went to the DIA, they will only sell DIA courses. Well, actually, you need an array of everything. Where do I go? And then you can decide, if you start working your way through everyone, wow. Oh, what a shame. It might cost you some money and some time. I can't afford to have a day off, Graham. Then you need to change your business plan, Josh. You told me earlier, didn't you? Yeah, I need to put CPD into my business plan. So if you can't afford to take a day off to do some training, yeah, then your business plan and your business needs to improve.
That's the biggest change I've noticed recently, and I've been doing exactly that. And it takes time. I know that I'm not going to be in the position probably for the next few months, but because I've started the process now of budgeting for it and amending my prices and working hours, one, I'm happier and more productive on the lessons. But two, I know that in a couple of months, I'm going to have a pot of money that can offset for the day or two off work and to pay for the training.
Yeah.
And therefore, long term, it's going to allow me to bring in more money, do more CPD, and then the spiral continues.
What you just said there is that when I just remind me of my original business plan was to do two pieces of CPD a year. Only two. I mean, some of them were quite big, but two pieces of CPD a year. Well, if you think I've been in the industry 30 years and I've been doing at least two pieces of CPD a year, I don't even bother. People go give you a certificate. I don't want a sodding certificate that I've attended and work. I'm just really not, I sometimes remember to write down what I've done, and that's without reading books. Yeah. Um, People go, there's a lots of good stuff on YouTube. This is on there. I want things evidence based and validated because not this, Josh, and I've already told you I'm not great. I watch stuff on YouTube because, like, my clients will go, "I've been watching," and I'll go, and I will go and have a look, and I'm bored after 5 minutes of someone waffling on, and I might be waffling on here, but this will go out on YouTube, and that's why I think, man, did it engage? Did it hold people's attention? And then it's like this, it'll be an hour long, and I think, oh, I haven't got an hour. Yeah. I think, how do you do it? Bite-sized chunks, you know. So I think attention span videos, maybe 3 minutes. Can you get your point across in 3 minutes? You can't do this, Josh. And these are really good because these introduce uh, personalities and people to others who would not know. So you're doing a great job doing that because, again, you're bringing all different people. I mean, how many of these you done? 30 something?
The 32 went out. We're filming now. This will go out in a few weeks. But yeah, 32 are out on
So
YouTube now.
32. So that's 32 different people
Yeah.
you've brought awareness to within our industry, and other people will see that and then they will spread the word.
And just getting a little bit out of each episode is what I found with podcasts and when I'm listening, because what you've discussed there is a very condensed and yeah, we've maybe been going, I don't know how long we've been going
I've got
for,
no idea.
but we've condensed a long career with lots of different things into half an hour, 40 minutes. And to try and achieve that in the next 6 months is going to be very difficult for any of the viewers and watchers. But if they come away from this and just have one goal, write a business plan or write a CPD plan or find a course that they want to do and figure out how they make time for it and how they finance it, great, because someone's developing and
And
it's going
Josh,
to
I'll
put
tell you
them.
what, I'm going to give them a carrot. Every single course that I've done, I have made money from. So when I went and did the DIA classroom course, okay, I made I can't even imagine maybe £100,000 out of that course because I met someone who gave me an idea that allowed me to monetize what I'd gone to the DIA classroom course for, was to become a presenter. Um, I was then able to monetize that presenter because I ended up as senior trainer at Hertfordshire, Essex, and London, where I was earning £250 a day 25 years ago. So it got monetized. And if, of course, people go to me, oh, I want to do blah, blah, blah. Well, go and get some evidence that you can do blah, blah, blah. Now, not all CPD is great, but some companies want a bit of paper. It's a bit like a degree. Why do they want that bit of paper? Doesn't say you can do it. What does it say?
Says you put the time in to study.
Yeah, you're willing to make an effort.
It's a challenge, isn't it? When you see, like yourself, you're this presenter high up, earning good money. It's like some people put it down to luck, Others will be like, I could never do that. But it starts with that first course, making that connection, and that's what gets you in the room. You
Yeah.
don't get an invite, you've got to get yourself there.
And you grow from it. You grow. One of my clients was talking to somebody else. I think they were talking to Diane Hall. Yeah. And they went, Graham just doesn't seem to get nervous. And I went, no, that's not true. I get nervous. Yeah. I go on my standards check. I am nervous. I go and stand up in front of 150 people to talk. I'm nervous. Went to Lancashire County Constabulary to do coaching for driver development with the police driver training school. Yeah. I had 6 of their top trainers and the guy who led the school in the room with me. Of course I'm nervous. Yeah. But a little bit of nerves is good because I'm nervous. So what do you think I did before I did? So let's take the police driver training school. What do you think I did? I was presenting a course for 2 days to these 6 people. What do you think I did before I did the presentation?
So I'm going to guess and go with what I would do. I'd rehearse what I needed to. I'd like to know all of the subjects in depth for any questions and potentially, time permitted, deliver it to other people so that you've been through it live as well.
Yeah,
I'd be
if I
interested.
could
What
do
did you do?
that, yeah. I mean, I'd already be, it wasn't the first time I presented the course, but exactly, I did that. I rehearsed it. I went through it at least 3 times. Yeah. And I would go through it of the morning of the course in my hotel room just to make sure, right, refresh. And then also, I think, well, if I don't know the answer, I don't know the answer, but I do know where to find it. And I will refer, and I can refer them to somebody else because you don't always know the answer. And then before I go into there, because I mean, I'm just even nervous going into this huge constabulary training establishment. And I'm just nervous trying to find somewhere to park, Josh. Yeah. I've got to go through
Yeah.
the security, get my badge, don't know where I'm going. The training's not in the place where I've got to go and register. I've ended up having to park on the pavement. There is nowhere to park. I'm thinking, should I be parking here? Go in and apologise. And I said, what did you? And then the receptionist goes, you think they'd reserve you a parking space, would you? Yeah. I go, well, I would have liked to have thought so, but at the moment there isn't. And then they phoned the sergeant who was in charge, and then he came and rescued me, and we found somewhere to park. But all of that's more stressful in some respects than delivering the course. But before I delivered the course, I went to the toilet and I spent a moment. And then finally, right, let's go. And then you walk tall, you look the part, you present yourself, your body language. I'm not walking in going, yeah, I'm walking in going, I'm leading this. And, forget what's going on inside. Yeah. Yeah. I am going to demonstrate because I need to gain 6 people's top driver trainers, yeah, under blue lights. I need to gain their rapport, their respect very, very quickly. And unfortunately, people will judge you in the first 30 seconds.
Yep.
And so, where did I learn that? Well, I learned that over, that no one gave me that. And what was interesting is that in some respects, I'm quite a shy person, but you can train yourself to get over that.
We used
And
to have a saying with that in the military because I done about 8 years teaching and presenting to a large audience, and it was the swan effect. I don't know if you've heard of that.
yeah,
It's a great saying, and I try and use it with my learners as well for the tests. It's the swan gliding calm across the water, but underneath, legs are flapping like fuck.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, and you get trained into these techniques, you know,
Yeah.
and that's the great thing. I'll go back again about CPD. Yeah. Presentation skills course. We run a presentation skills course. We don't do it anymore. Do you know why we don't do it?
No one came on it.
Well, we did initially, but it dried up.
Yeah.
And the thing is, because it's actually in classroom, if you don't get the numbers, it becomes not cost effective. It was an absolute, everyone loved it. It was a brilliant course. In fact, that course made some of the best trainers out there today because they were able to become presenters off the back of that course. It changed them, because even if you're teaching a learner driver, yeah, you have to present yourself. And unfortunately, people buy your image. And I say that unfortunately, because if you turn up looking, and people won't like me for unprofessional, yeah, you may be brilliant. But if you turn up like you've been dragged through a hedge backwards, the person will judge you. Now, as a coach, I should be non-judgmental, and you give that person a chance, but not everyone's a coach and has that
That's
first non-judgmental approach. I want to find out more about this person. There's more in that person than just what they look like. But we live in a world where image is virtually everything. Not substance, image. You've only got to go TikToking or whatever. Oh, what's that one? Only Friends? I don't know what they're called. Um,
I'm
you
not sure where this is going.
Well, I don't know. You get loads of likes or whatever, and you earn money. Not that because you're brilliant at anything, yeah, but you've got an image.
Yep.
I don't know what it's called, Josh. So, but it is something like that. You may know what it's called. You're a younger person than me. Yeah.
So I'm not on TikTok, and there's a good reason. I spend too much time on Facebook and Instagram. I don't need any more social media chewing up my time. But you and the 17-year-old, it's an odd time at the minute because you're right, as coaches, you should be non-judgmental. But a 17-year-old getting in the car with you, they're likely going to judge, or their parents. I'm not going to say they're going to judge everything because I don't know. But at the minute, there's a lot of learners and not enough driving instructors. That seems to be slowing down.
Okay. What everyone moans about the DVSA, yeah. Okay, but the DVSA's shit show, yeah, has allowed driving instructors to be able to earn more money than they've ever been able to. This is the best time in this industry ever for driving instructors. And what do? Complain. Because we're never going to, he's never going to have, when I joined to become a driving instructor, the waiting list was 26 weeks to get a driving test.
About the same as it is now.
About the same as it is now. Yeah. It was slightly, you could get one though. You could book one in 26 weeks' time.
Okay, yep,
Yeah. Now the problem is you sometimes can't book one at all. Yeah.
yep,
But it was still 26 weeks. And you learned to manage that.
yep.
And I managed that by booking everybody's driving tests myself, because it gave me control. If you weren't ready, I could give your test to somebody else and move your test to the one who's got, who may have a test 4 weeks later. And the one who's not ready is really not complaining about that because they've got a test. Problem we've got these days is, no, I'm not, I need to have a go. Yeah. I mean, would you be an examiner with these people turning up needing to have a go? Ooh. I mean, they must get in the car and think, why I even bother? I don't want to even go out of the car park with this one. So
That's an interesting point that you've made there. And I'd like to just discuss it for two
go on.
seconds because it's something I'd not considered. And that is if I were to book tests for all of my students, one, I'm offering a complete package. But two, if a student's not ready for a test in 4 weeks' time, student B has got a test in 6 weeks' time. We swap again. There's I think, what, six per test that you can swap.
Yeah.
But then that negates my students' need to just have a go because I can be like, look, you're not ready, but let's swap it with this other test that I've got. I can go home, 10 minutes, have it swapped. And that helps with business management.
The
And
service. You're
yeah,
providing a service to your clients. And the way that I ran it, Josh, so that I would book it on my credit card. So, and I would book it on my credit card, and my pupil has 30 days to pay. They don't have to pay it. If they don't pay me, I've got a test
yeah,
because they're not having it. Yeah. I know I would have given their details. I can cancel it because I've paid for it. And I can swap it with anybody else if I want to. Because, they haven't paid for it. So they can't own a test they haven't paid for. But I mean, I'm sure there's someone going to go, or there's some legalities there. But this was, 25 years ago. This is not now. But yeah, you come to me for a service. If I can give added value for that service, then that legitimately puts my prices up. I will look after you, Josh. Josh, what we'll do is we're going to book a test as soon as you pass your theory. Forget the test. We're just booking it. Yeah. So that we have the ability to move your test around with the other people I'm teaching. So none of you need to panic about getting a test when you're ready. I will have one. You might have a 4-week wait, but I will have one.
and then they've not got to pay for third-party apps that we have no control over.
Correct. So, but that, people don't want to do that, do they? I'm not spending all my time on the computer, blah, 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 blah. Well, charge your clients for it. If you put your lesson price up by £1 for that service and they have 50 lessons, that's 50 quid you've got for 10 minutes on a computer. Add value. Yeah. When you provide, you do deliver driving lessons. If you're going to add value, so if you're going to use an app like Total Drive or Go Roadie or something like, or My Drive or whatever, then put your price up to include the price of the bloody app. Yeah.
Yep.
If you're going to add whatever, any other resources, if you're going to give your client resources or driving test success to do their theory, give it to them, put it in your price, charge more, added value.
That's the business side of it, isn't it? It's difficult. I know I've spoke to a few people and it's not really covered through training. And a
It
lot of
will be
people coming in.
covered because I've decided to team up with Tommy Sandu. He runs a
See that?
driving school in Coventry with about 100. I don't know, it's 60 to 100 driving instructors. And we're going to do some business planning courses for PDIs and ADIs.
That's coming. I saw a post about that. That's coming up soon, is it? Can we give
Yeah,
that
I
a
think it's
little
about
plug
March.
so people can find
I've
it?
just done. I've got it will be an introductory, which will be a relatively cheap introductory. I don't know what the price is going to be, but just for argument's sake, say the price is 20 quid for an introductory, and then each module after that will be around £50. There'll be five, so there'll be introductory and then followed by four modules. Yeah, each module could be purchased individually or as a bulk. And if they purchase as a bulk, we would do a discount for it. And they will look at different aspects of business and how we should be looking after ourselves as driving instructors in terms of making provision for sick pay, making provision for pension, making provision for holidays, yeah, making provision for reinvestment. those sort of things, is we won't be telling people what to do, but we will be giving, look, let's work through, in this workshop, we're going to work through this process and discuss it. And we're going to look at what you can do, what you can't do, etc. So we'd probably, I'd look like through your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities and threats, and then give you the opportunity, if you want to do something. But guess what? None of it will bloody work unless you do something. Learning doesn't happen unless you apply it.
So where can people, we normally do plugs at the end, but I think this will really help, especially a lot of my audience are quite early in their career. So where can they go to find that? And we'll plug everything else towards the end, but where can they go for that?
Well, pdiadi.com,
Cool.
it will be there. Just contact me direct. If they, they will be able to find me on social media. They will send me a message. All I will say to people is, when you send me a message, it actually goes into a junk message folder first. So I don't actually get notified there's a message. I then have to go to, so I will go during the course of a day, look at the chat box, and it'll drop down and go, oh, someone's put a message request. So sometimes I may not see that for 24 or 48 hours. It's not because I'm ignoring people. I just haven't been notified that I've got a message. But a lot of my posts on social media, I put my email address down, grahamhooperadi@hotmail.com. But again, you'll end up in my blooming junk. Yeah. I mean, the people I want to speak to, yeah, go in my junk, and the people I don't want to speak to go in my inbox. And I know people moan about I send out emails, but I have 120 emails coming to my box every single day. Yeah. Most of them are garbage. Do you know what? I have this thing called a phone. Yeah. And when I have a cup of tea in the morning, I just go delete, 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 delete. And it takes about a minute to delete all the ones I don't want. And then when I go to my laptop, they're not there. Wonderful. Yeah. It's absolutely amazing, And I think to myself, if all you've got to complain about is an email, aren't you lucky? Yeah.
I have a
Only
few email
lucky.
accounts for that reason. One all the junk goes to, one the important stuff goes to, and one very few people get access to.
And I just have folders in mine. I just have folders. I file stuff. That's what I do, because I need stuff for records. It's amazing that I have to go looking for emails which come into me 9 months ago, but I will find. I will have filed it and be able to find it. It's something that you just have to have some forms. And I'm not a very much system guy, but I do have a system. Yeah.
One that works for you.
Yeah, one that works for me. There has to be a process.
I'm finding that slowly. And again, I think that's something that takes time. So early in the industry, finding my processes, my structure.
But if you think of children like structure, but children like routines. We're no different. We
Yeah.
have a routine. Get out of bed in the morning, you have a routine. Yeah. Some days it might fluctuate a little bit. Generally speaking, we have a routine. Yeah. We won't discuss what that routine will be, but there will be a routine, and then we have a routine during the course of our day, and we live our life through that routine. Well, the same as being an ADI, we develop a process, or a PDI develop a process. Yeah, but we don't do it. We don't do it maybe because we don't know how to do it, and maybe because the people who are training us don't open our eyes to it. I mean, I don't get. I'm just that just. Who trains the trainers then? Well, I might be partly responsible for that, but who trains the trainers? What qualifications do these trainers have to train the trainers?
I like where this is going.
I don't know, but if you're out there pimping yourself, yeah, then have the backup material. Yeah, what have you done? What elevated you to that position? Because these days it's easy to get elevated, isn't it? It's so. I think maybe that's part of the thing. That's why I probably had to do the hard yards, because we didn't have social media.
Yep.
Nowadays, you can invent yourself very, very quickly and rise to the top of the pile very, very quickly with, again, maybe, and I don't know, but with some people will be no substance. Others will have maybe a background they brought into the industry, And, I'm very much for everyone's got to start somewhere and everyone's got to grow. Yeah. And we should all, I mean, I suppose at the end of the day, Josh, people are chasing the pound note, aren't they?
Yeah, and then you can't see past that. We can see how much we can earn per hour. And if we need a bit more money, we can work a weekend, whatever it is. And then you're almost just giving yourself a job. That's what I noticed
It's a
quite early
job.
on. I've just given myself a job where I can do a bit of overtime.
See,
And
if you came on that course with me and Tommy Sandu, we would give you an opportunity to think about monetizing your business so that you can earn more than just a job.
I'll
And
be certainly keeping my eye on when that goes live. I did see your first post, and what I'll do, I'll put links in the description to all the relevant websites and keep an eye on what's coming up because managing my business, it's taken me a little bit of time to get there, but I need to have it like a business, not a job.
mm,
And then I can provide better for my students, but also better balance for me.
no man is an island. Okay. And what we have to think about is what jobs can we give to other people to do that doesn't waste their time? That's where the apps come in. Managing your clients through an app, that's good because that's managing your time. You're not actually physically sending out the email or sending out the text. It's all done through a diary management system. That's brilliant. Gives you more time.
Outsourcing.
You have to work out what you can outsource and what you can't outsource. And then if you are going to outsource and it costs money, you know what you have to do with your prices.
Needs to be priced in. I love it. It's been fascinating. Not where I expected the episode to go, but it's
Where did you expect the episode to go?
I don't know. I was going to try and talk to you about a post that you put up on Facebook about driving tests and why people fail. But well, I'll ask you a question on that very quickly
Go
before
on
we
then.
look to go to the tell me question. So you did put a post on social media a while back now, but it was when the DVSA released the top 10 reasons for failing the driving test. And I found your take on it really interesting because it then still seems to put focus on, like you said, fault focused training. Um, what were your thoughts with that when it was released, and if you can remember the post?
Well, the reason I commented is actually, and it's nice to know, Josh, that it has an effect, that someone's given me some feedback, because sometimes I just don't get any feedback, and I think, well, maybe that was just a complete load of tosh, and no one's really interested. So it's nice to get some feedback, because I feel the industry is very fault focused. Examiners are fault focused because they're trained to be fault
Yep.
focused, and because it's a test. Yeah, we get fault focused because we start teaching people to pass a test. It doesn't work. Yeah, the reason really that most people fail tests is they're not good enough. Nothing else. They're just not good enough. Yeah, part three, part two, driving tests. They're just not good enough. It's not the examiner's fault. It's not the red car that pulled out. You're just not good enough. Unfortunately, that's not nice sometimes to hear. But guess, generally speaking, we get another go, don't we?
Yep.
So become good enough. If you can do it, you'll pass. What happens is we want to take shortcuts. And I know that because a lot of people come to me. They don't want me. Someone's texted me last night. If I do a Zoom course with you and I come on a half day training, will you guarantee me a pass? It is a PDI. You will guarantee me a pass. It's just like, well, I'll guarantee you a pass if you want to take the full course. Yeah. That full course will cost you £4,000. Yeah, not 75 quid. Guarantee a part. It's just like, I'll give you your money back if you don't like what I've given you.
There's so much for this job, and it's we've discussed it in the episode. There's so many different things. We're generally on our own independent instructors, so there's so many things that you've got to spin, whether that's business, accounts, CPD, diary management, time off, sick pay, holidays. The list goes on. It is endless. But I think from what you've said here, it starts somewhere. Pick something, start with that, stick with that, and then you're going to naturally find the next step in the progression and develop from there, which I think has been quite a good message. It's something that I'm guilty of sometimes is trying to do too much at once,
Mm.
hit it hard for a few weeks, and then I stop because it's not sustainable. It's finding the sustainable changes that you can do constantly.
And I think you do that, whatever way it works. For me, it would be a list. Yeah. What do I need to do to get to the end in mind? What is, and then gradually I tick off the list. No, what I like about ticking off a list is it rewards me because some days I'll go, oh, I feel like I've done nothing. And then I look at my list and I go, oh, I've got 6 ticks on there. I actually have done something. And that rewards me and goes, I didn't spend my whole time involved around social blooming media, you know, which is a time vampire.
It's scary if you aren't on top of it, how much time you can spend on social media. And it was an eye opener for me when I started tracking it on my phone. I'm like, that 2 hours that I've spent on Facebook and Instagram today, I could have used it productively. So the next day, I'll try and do something productive and then spend less time on social media. And now I'll get everything done before I check social media or I'm checking for a purpose. They just, you've got to have focus, haven't you? You've got to have focus. Otherwise, we're in the same place in 6 months' time and the same place in 10 years' time.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got the new part of the show, tell me questions. I'm not sure how it'll go. So what I will do, I've had to change some of the wording with some because we end up
Okay.
down some rabbit holes. And can you tell me what car you would drive if it was the only car you could ever drive forever?
Okay. Something like a Winnebago.
A Winnebago, I like that.
Something like a Winnebago, and I'd put a little 4x4 on the back. Yeah. So that way I can take my toilet with me
Yeah,
wherever I go. I can take my cooking with me wherever I go. Yeah. And so I can never have to worry about going anywhere and thinking, oh, I need a hotel room. So,
I
yeah.
like that. If I had my way, I'd have the house sold and I'd be living in a motorhome. But the missus
So,
won't go for it with three
yeah.
kids.
Well, in Australia, they have grey nomads. Lots of people buy motorhomes and just drive around Australia. They do
I'll
that in.
maybe go and
I know
join them.
someone who does that in America. They do have a house, but they just get in their motorhome and go AWOL for 6 months at a time.
That's what I need my business plan to incorporate in 10 years' time
There you go.
in the motorhome.
You see, now you've got something. Yeah, yeah. This is where I want to end up. This is what I want.
It's in. I'm going to work backwards from there. We'll get on to the next one because otherwise I'll be
Yeah.
planning my trip around America and Australia. Um, can you tell me if you could deliver a driving lesson to anyone, who would it be?
Oh, that was a really, really difficult question. Um, but I thought about it. I mean, I have been lucky enough to do an assessment with the original Stig, Perry McCarthy,
Oh,
um,
wow.
once upon a time. But I thought if I were to deliver a driving lesson, I would like to deliver it to the Prime Minister. If we have a Prime Minister.
I was going to say when this goes out, it could be a different one.
Yeah, exactly. To the Prime Minister.
Good answer, whoever that prime minister may be.
Yeah.
Can you tell me the best piece of advice you ever received?
The best piece of advice I ever received. I think there's loads, but I think for this industry, um, it was from the manager of a BSM branch in Tottenham, and he said to me, "Do not let your clients run your life. You run your life. You run your business to how it suits you. Develop the ability to say no."
I love that. And it's something that I've been not that specific piece, but I'm massively aware of it now. It's got to work for me, and I can't be working all hours to suit everyone. It's not manageable.
Yeah,
I love that. Great answer.
thank you.
The next one, can you tell me your favorite book?
Oh, this was so difficult. But I'm going to go for Papillon.
Papillon. Is that the POW?
Yeah,
Prisoner
he
of
was. Yeah,
War?
he was in the French Foreign Legion, or the story.
They've
Steve
recently done a
McQueen
film
and
about it.
Dustin Hoffman played the film, but the film stops halfway through the book when they jumped off the cliff to escape the island. Yeah, but I think Papillon. I really enjoyed it. Lord of the Rings was another book I really enjoyed. My library is just intense, and it was really. But I think. Papillon. I really enjoyed Papillon. The follow up, there was a follow up after that, but it wasn't as good. Papillon, I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the read. So there we
Another
go.
one for the reading list.
Yeah.
Nice. Can you tell me one message you would give to someone who's thinking of coming into the industry?
One message. Start with the end in mind.
Nice. Great answer there, especially with the theme of this episode. Can you tell me one piece of advice you give a student before they go for their driving test?
Well, the piece of advice I give to all students before they go to driving test is just drive the car. Don't do the test. Yeah. You just drive the car to the best of your ability and you will pass.
Nice. And can you tell me something you wish you were better at?
Well, I just everything, yeah, um, everything. You see, there's lots of things I wish I was better at, but I haven't got. I've got no admin, but I just do not. I get somebody else to do and help me with most of my admin. So I suppose the real answer, yeah, golf,
Golf.
golf. Something I wish I was better at, golf.
I've never played,
Okay.
so
I'm okay. Handicap's 14.5. I can play. It's something I wish I was better at. Golf.
nice. And the last question then, if anyone's got any questions or wants to find more information about you, or if you've got anything coming up that you'd like to share, can you tell me that?
Well, for me, if we do me personally, you can find me as a trainer on pdiadi.com, but I do bespoke training for anyone within the industry. As we sat here, I've sold a trainer course because it come up in the bottom right hand of my screen. So my next trainer course, February sold out. My next one in March has only one place left now because I got a notification telling me only one place left. So I have that coming up. I also have a standards check workshop, which it's like with everything. I don't know when it is because it will just be in my diary. But it's not far away. Let's find me. I'm on an app for pdiadi.com. I'm going to our trainers. I'm clicking on Graham Hooper. I'm scrolling down my courses. The Essential Skills Workshop for your Part 3 and Standards Check is on Monday, the 26th of February, runs 9:30 to 3:30 p.m. and is only £120.
So I think
And
this
there's
episode,
probably, I think, 4 places left on that course.
this episode might go out after that, but I
Okay, so
expect
if
it's
it
not the
goes
only
out
time you're
after
running it.
it, go through the process of going to pdiada.com, click finding the trainers, scroll down to my name, press my name, and it will have a list of courses that I'm doing, which will either be trainer, standard check, or workshop. If it's individual training to pass your standards check and you want one-to-one, contact me direct. 07889 194011. Leave a message or email me grahamhooperadi@hotmail.com and I will get back to you. So I will bespoke training. I've got people who I bespoke training to on a regular basis, clients that come back to me continuously. And I've got clients who come to me 4 times a year. I've got one client who just pays me every month a standing order so that he can turn up whenever he wants and have training, or whenever I can fit him in. So there's plenty of different ways.
Amazing. What we'll do, we will get all the links put in the description as well, so people can find you. But Graham, it has been a pleasure talking to you today. I've really enjoyed it. It's fascinating to hear your career and how you've got to where you have. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. Yeah,
Great.
you might even be brave enough to have me back at some stage.
I would love to. We'll have to organize it, get you back on, see what people say. So if you're still watching here, let us know in the comments, and maybe let us know in the comments what you'd like us to discuss, any questions, and maybe we can hit some of that in the episode. But thank you very much for your time. It's really appreciated.
My pleasure. Yeah.